Welcome to Startup Hack. I'm Spencer Tomlinson, and here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers and build custom software solutions for companies. I do a lot of work as a fractional CTO with over a decade of executive leadership experience and a solid 25 years in software development. I've mastered the art of transforming technology teams and products. So let's jump right into this today. Today we're diving into some bombshell news that has sent shockwaves throughout the tech world. Two pieces of information that are kind of hard to ignore. First is a shocking jobs report that released that paints a much grimmer picture of the job market than previously was thought. Now this happens, and I'm going to dig into it a little bit, but then to add fuel to the fire, a major leak of Microsoft's payroll data has revealed just how much engineers are raking in at Microsoft. If you think if you're in tech or thinking about jumping in, you might want to stick around because this is going to be a wild ride. Let's jump into this today. All right, so let's dive into this a little bit here, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So, non-farm payroll data growth revised down by 818,000 jobs. That's a ton, right? So it's part of a preliminary annual benchmark revision to the non-farm payroll numbers. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, where we get most of our labor statistics, said the actual job growth was nearly 30% less than the initial report. So the revision to the total payroll of negative 0.5% is the largest since 2009, right? So that's a ton. Like, they were off by a lot. At the sector level, the biggest downward revision came in professional and business services. This is where the development jobs sit, where job growth was 358 less than initially reported. Okay, so this is going to be where we're talking about tech. They'd reported there was a whole bunch of job growth that there actually hadn't been yet. And so this kind of goes along with what a lot of people were saying, right? U.S. economy created almost 1 million fewer jobs than originally reported the 12-month period in March. So when the labor report, now again, they give these preliminary ones and then they kind of dig down into the weeds and they try to verify all their numbers, and so they make adjustments. And they say, in accordance with the usual practice, right, announcing the preliminary estimate of the upcoming, so this is very normal. They give preliminary estimates in March, and then they come back and kind of, okay, well, we tweak all the numbers because we have a little bit better count. It's like the recount for the election, right? But when they came back in to do this, they found that they were actually 0.5% off, which is a ton. It means 818,000 jobs off, right? Like, that's not a little bit. So professional and business services, right? This is the biggest hit one, right? They were off by 1.6%. Clearly one of the largest, that and then mining and logging apparently. But what we're talking about here today is this professional businesses services. So, and then even in the information in the IT sector too, right? This one was off by 2.3%, right? Huge, big numbers. Like, these are way off. Like, these aren't a little bit. And so what this is doing is bringing around a little bit more talk about the R word, right? And so as we look at the bombshell job report, according to the latest data, the U.S. job market is in more of a slump than anyone would have wanted to admit. What we're talking about is a revision that wiped out almost 1 million jobs from the previous report. It's like thinking you got a fat bank account only to find out you're running on fumes. So this isn't just a blip. This is a major red flag for the economy, and especially for those in the tech sector who thought they were safe. The job market is looking shakier than a house of cards in a windstorm. Now, the pace of job growth still is healthy, so that's the interesting thing, and it could, and we're showing early signs of it coming back, just as I've been predicting, but basically they're saying that what we were at was worse than we thought it was. And so it's interesting because we hear the noise, and I hear a lot of you guys tell me that, oh, it's worse out there than you're saying it is, and you're right, right? You were right. And the job market, the numbers they were giving us were wrong. And it wasn't off by just a little bit. It was off by a lot bit. And I saw somebody ask the Kamala Harris camp today, and they initially blamed Trump, and they're like, this doesn't have anything to do with Trump. This is the BLS. And the person didn't even know what that was. So that's super encouraging, right? If you want to vote on that side, that's super, super encouraging that the Democrats have absolutely no idea what this means. But the Labor Department estimated that job growth averaged 174, drop of 68,000, right? And so we're definitely seeing that it's, this was shakier. And so ultimately, everybody's looking to tomorrow to see when this guy Mr. Powell is going to slash rates. Essentially, what this did is we were hovering right over a recession, but we were just hovering above all the indicators. Well, a lot of this has now dipped us below. And with inflation data, with jobs, I've said all along, as soon as I knew they started pumping money into the economy back in 2020, 2021, and in 2022, I was like, this is going to hit, and eventually we're going to feel a recession. It's the only way that the feds can actually know that they're bringing down interest rates. Well, folks, here you go. Numbers being off by $1 million, being off by 2.3%, worse, and all these are negative, right? You notice none of these are positive. I guess there's a couple small positives here, but like almost everything else negatives here, right? This is not a good sign. This means the country is in a recessionary behavior, right? And the feds need to slash rate. They're playing God with the interest rates. It's been high for too long. Like they've raised them before where they've had to leave them high to get inflation down, but usually it's not this long. This has been too long. And now it's officially, these numbers are telling everybody that it's now officially too long. So, I mean, I think it's got to be that the Feds cut rates and that they've got to cut rates quickly. So you might be wondering, what does this mean for us tech folks? Well, here's the deal. The tech industry isn't immune to all these shifts, as we've seen. With fewer jobs being added than expected, companies are tightening their belts. This means more competition for the jobs that do exist and potentially slower hiring. But before you start panicking and updating your LinkedIn profile, remember, tech is still one of the most resilient industries out there. It might be tougher to get a job, but it's far from doomsday. So here's the $1 million question. Are we heading for a tech recession? Well, the signs aren't exactly rosy, and I would kind of argue that we're already there, that we're in all of the early signs of a recession, and that this report is showing what we've kind of felt is that we are there, that it's been that we're in a little bit of that we're in some type of a recession. Right now, this doesn't necessarily mean a depression, but it does mean a recession. So this isn't sky is falling scenario, but it's enough to make you think twice about how secure your job is. So one of the biggest things that I can tell you to do is make sure you stay up to date on all the latest technology. And here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers. And we're going to have a big announcement coming tomorrow. But we love to train software developers, so make sure you check out our previous videos because we do tons of coding samples in our previous videos. I don't do live coding samples, but we have hundreds of videos out there, and we're going to continue to do videos, so make sure you go check those out. Now, along with this today, and oddly, same day, I think this is just kind of the way that life goes, there was a report that got leaked as part of a filing for, so as part of let's switch gears and talk a little bit about a juicy Microsoft payroll leak, right? There's a pay leak. And if you're wondering how much Microsoft engineers are pouring in, well, we don't have to wonder anymore, right? A spreadsheet was leaked showing salaries that would make your jaw drop. We're talking about six-figure salaries that could easily buy you a small island. This isn't just about envy, though. It's a reminder that even in a shaky job market, tech salaries are still sky high. So if you're considering a career in tech, maybe this is the motivation that you need. So I'm going to jump into some of these numbers because, again, tech salaries are at least 2.5 times the average U.S. American household right now. I've always felt really blessed to be working in tech. I've always been able to take care of my family. My wife's never had to work. She chooses to, right? She chooses not to work. She has some other side things that she does, but she chooses to do those instead. And I feel like we've always been really blessed by that. So Microsoft leaked Microsoft pay data shows how much hundreds of software engineers report making in units like Azure and in AI. So Microsoft employees recently shared their pay details in a spreadsheet. The document includes salaries, raises, promotions, and bonuses. BI analysis analyzed the data, Business Insider, for software developers working at Microsoft. So hundreds of Microsoft's employees. Employees had preference reviews earlier this year, and so this actually came because they were filing for some visas and stuff, and then part of it, pay came out, right, to kind of show that visa workers are, what ratio they are to the American workers. Now, this is kind of the interesting parts, right? So a level 59, which is one of their lower levels, was making $148,000 total comp with a base of $126 cash and stock. But as you get into some of these higher ones, a 69, right? A level 69 was making $1.2 million a year with almost $300,000 of bonuses, and their cash plus stock bonus was almost $1 million, right? Like, this is crazy high. But I mean, even just seeing this range, that some of these upper ranges were making $300,000 to $800,000 a year, and these are just tech workers that are working inside of Microsoft, right? So the reported pay was highest for software engineers in Microsoft's new Microsoft AI organization, which the company formed in March when it hired somebody, a co-founder of DeepMind, to be the CEO, right? Now, so average base pay for software engineers by org, right? So in Azure, total comp average 251K. Cloud and AI, 255. Experiences and devices, 242. Microsoft AI, 377. I've been telling you guys for a long time to start working on your AI coding. This is proof here, right? This is proof. 377,000 a year for a good developer that works in the Microsoft AI division, right? Now, there was no promotions at level 59. Software engineer promotion by level. So anyways, this is an interesting report, and this data was leaked today, and it came out, but it represented 190,000 employees. So representatives at Microsoft has 190,000 employees, and based on its pay on a variety of factors. So the thing that's interesting about this is that, I mean, Microsoft is clearly the tech market is still around, right? Anybody who says, "Oh, tech market's past, you're never going to have tech again," boy, that's sure not what I'm seeing on here. Because this is even an old report here, right? Big tech salaries revealed how much engineers make, including Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Intel, Uber, and IBM. And this is from April of 2 years ago, right? So this is when things were at the sky high. But I'm telling you that, like, we haven't really seen, well, we have seen some tech drop a bit, like in jobs and everything like that. People have had to take lower paying. You see these crazy numbers that are being offered here. So tech is still 2.5 times the average U.S. salary, right? And so let's talk a little bit about what this means for new grads and those looking for a change in career. On one hand, the job market might look a bit daunting right now. On the other hand, tech is still one of the most lucrative fields out there, and I would argue one of the most comfortable. The key is to focus on building the skills that are in demand. Don't just aim for the big names like Microsoft. You got to get some experience, and there's plenty of opportunities in smaller companies and startups where you can make a big impact. It might be tougher to land that first job, but once you're in, the sky's the limits. So how do you stand out? Speaking of landing that first job, to stand out in this competitive market, you really just need to have, so there's, the days of just having a degree and calling it good are long gone. You need to be proactive, build a portfolio, contribute to open source projects, and network like your career depends on it, because it does. Higher and higher percentages of people are getting hired off of networking more than they are off just cold, blind applications. So companies are looking for more than tech skills. They want problem solvers, team players, and people who can hit the ground running. So in a market like this, you need to show that you're not just another resume in the pile. One of the easy ways to do that is to start a side hustle where you can show off and answer all your interview questions with, well, as I was working on this side hustle, I did this and this and this, or I was faced with this problem, this is how I overcame it. It's one of the best interviewing tips that I can give people, is start some side hustle. Even if you don't make a dime on it, it's, if anything else, it's one of the best resume builders. So here's a debate as old as time: experience versus education. With the job market tightening, experience is becoming more valuable than ever. Employers want to see that you've been in the trenches and that you know how to deliver. And it doesn't mean that education or certifications aren't important, but those won't cut it alone. You've got to get some real world experience, right? So getting past that 2-year mark, particularly for juniors, is critically important. Now, let's not forget the game changer in this is remote work. The pandemic may have kickstarted it, but remote work is here to stay, and it's reshaping tech job market in a profound way. On the plus side, it's opened up opportunities for people all over the world to work for top tech companies, but it's also increased the competition as you're now up against global talent pool. So remote work offers flexibility, but also requires discipline and self-motivation, if you can master those. So remote work has also accelerated the globalization of the tech workforce. These reports were leaked because of some reporting filing that was happening for that. So where do we go from here? I'm going to kind of bring these two topics together. I think that we're in a small recession. I think particularly tech has been hit. I do think we're going to see interest rates slashed. I think I think we've been feeling that pain for a little while, and I think there's a lot of projects that are waiting on the shelf, waiting to get funded. And again, I was through the dot-com bust. I went through 2008. I went through COVID. I've been through the tech industry to know long enough that if companies have to sit on projects, they wait, and then they kind of explode. And I've seen this over and over again. In fact, you see it kind of a little bit of every year because Q4 hirings are so terrible. You all see this mad rush in Q1 because these projects have just gotten approved onto a budget. And so my prediction is we're going to see some of that in Q4, some of that ramp up as interest rates come down, because I think the feds are going to be forced to cut interest rates, and I think quickly, to stop us from going into a full-blown recession and one that's really painful for the country. And I think they know that. So tech isn't going anywhere. I think AI is going to continue to drive more jobs, not remove jobs. And I think with that, we're going to see a recovery in 24 and into 25 for a very strong and exciting year for tech. Now, what are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? My best compliment is when you leave a comment down in the comments down below. But here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers. We love to train software developers in our coding boot camps, which is now licensed, and also build custom software solutions for companies. So reach out because we would love to help. Hit the links down below or go check out startuphack.com today for the coding boot camps and startuphack.com/Spencer for any of the consulting needs that you need. Otherwise, we will catch you guys next time. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel because we bring you lots of great tutorials and tips that every developer should know. See you next time.